think it goes to weight, not admissibility. You go ahead and publish.
Okay, so I had moved for admit, and I think you just need to formally admit it into evidence, Judge.
Exhibit 280 will be admitted.
Okay, and then permission to publish this particular recording.
You may go ahead.
Office evidence, correct? Yes, I was.
That first voice that we hear, is that your voice?
Correct.
And then that second voice, whose voice is that? Based on your knowledge?
Based on my knowledge, Mrs. Stauch.
The defendant?
Correct.
Okay.
Earlier, I think you might have been busy or something, so I waited to call back for a little bit. It's okay. Sorry. What time did you call? I just called you like maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, and you said, hold on. No, that wasn't, there's four of us working here, so that wasn't me. Yeah. I was like, oh, I don't recognize your voice. You were busy. Okay, so I'm trying to find out about some contents of mine that was in a car. So my book bag, which had a lot of my Social Security card, birth certificates and stuff that was in a car that's still impounded. And I just want to know, they gave me the purse one day out of it, but how can I get the book bag? And I need my MacBook for school. Your MacBook, okay. What is your name? Harley Hunt.
Harley Hunt, and do you have a case number so I can look it up?
Let's see this. I have this paper. It says agency number. Is that it? Or I have a VIN number?
It should be agency.
Agency number? All right, 2020-1382.
All right. Let's take a look here. Excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you.
You said it's a book bag?
There's a black and white book bag that was in the back seat of the white Jetta. And it has like my passport, my social, my birth certificate, my dog paperwork, my MacBook.
Okay. Let's see here.
Yeah, there's like there's a one blue bag that had a MacBook in it. And then there was a black and white book bag, and there was like my diamond rings are in it. And then there's a pink folder that had like my birth certificate and all that in it.
Okay. Let's see here.
Like, I understand they might still be holding the car, but like I can't like even like work or anything without having my passport because I'm a flight attendant. And
okay. And you said your name was Carly Hunt, is that correct?
Harley Hunt.
Harley Hunt. Okay, Harley. Well, I can tell you right now, everything on this case is evidence. So because it's evidence, I cannot release it back to you without written authorization from basically a higher authority. They have not given us any written authorizations to release. So, unfortunately, what you may want to do is contact the detectives on this case. Have you been in contact with anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go ahead and get the lead detective's number for you, and you can call them in reference to this, okay?
Okay.
All right. Hold on just 1 second.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be Detective Bethel.
Okay.
And her desk number is going to be 520-7291.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Ms. Cervantes, did it seem odd to you also the comment about it being a flight attendant?
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
Yeah, did it seem odd to you when the caller requesting the information back, I guess, relayed to you that they were a flight attendant?
Yes.
Overruled.
What was odd about that?
Just the fact that her daughter being young, the age, I thought I found it odd to be that age and a flight attendant.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all I have.
Cross-examination.
No question.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Cervantes? No? All right. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you.
Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Called Detective Michael Bauman. Thank you.
Detective, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning, Detective. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your name for the record?
Good morning. My name is Michael Bauman, Bauman,
Detective, who are you employed by?
the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do for the Sheriff's Office?
I'm a digital forensics detective.
What are your duties associated with that position?
Basically, my job is to find and preserve data that may be evidentiary of nature on electronic devices.
What kind of electronic devices do you typically work with?
Computers, cell phones, DVRs, things like that.
And then is there a particular device that helps you get data off of these other electronic data points?
Yes, sir. We have a number of devices that we use. For instance, with computers, we use a software and hardware combination called Celebrite. We also use something called Gray Key, which is for extracting data from phones. For computers, we use Axiom and kind of beefed up computer workstations.
Tell the jury what Celebrite is. You mentioned it.
Celebrate is basically a combination of hardware and software. It is it's a little device that plugs into the USB on your computer, and then you can plug phones into that and so forth and extract data from the phones. And then Celebrite has a second function, which it actually goes through that data and turns it into something that's readable and sortable and so forth.
Do you have particular training that allows you to use that particular, is it a device or what is it?
It's a device, it's a combination of hardware and software.
Do you have training that allows you to use that?
Yes, sir.
What does that training consist of?
Well, I have 3 different certifications with Celebrite. and basically 3 levels. The highest level is Celebrite Advanced Smartphone Analysis. It's just basically each one was the first 2 together were a week long, and then the CASA, the smartphone analysis one, was also a week long. That specifically dealt with using that tool. Basically, it's a hands-on program that you go and county spends a lot of money, and I sit there and learn how to use the machine basically and get an idea of what it's doing. So,
tell the jury about what the process would be like if I handed you a phone to use with this device. What process would you go through to obtain the data from that phone?
So effectively, if we know, for instance, if we know the passcode, we'll use that as an example. We'll take that phone. We will, you set the phone up by enabling developer options and things like that. If it's Android, if it's iPhone, it's different. If it's iPhone, you just tell it to stay awake, basically. Then you plug the phone into the Celebrite UFED device, which is the little thing I talked about that you plug into your computer. And then you go through the steps on the screen that allows the phone, and you're interacting with the phone and the computer to set up permissions so that you can download data off the phone.
So basically selecting what data you want to extract from that phone?
Well, I mean, yes, what you're really doing is setting up the computer and the phone so that they can talk to each other. Generally, we do, I don't want to go too deep in the nerd world for you, but we use an application programming interface, Celebrite, which is kind of like a translator. It allows Celebrite to speak to computer, right? So, iOS is talking to Windows at that point, so that it can say, okay, this is the data that you can pull off of the phone. And so that's kind of how that works. And so then it pulls the data off the phone. We then use the physical analyzer software to parse through that data and find the files that are in there.
What kind of things do you typically extract from a person's cell phone?
It depends on the phone, but oftentimes we extract, pictures, text messages, instant messages, internet search histories, activity data, locations, all those types of things.
What do you do with that information when you extract it? You put it on a disk?
Yes, sir. We'll take that information, run it through Physical Analyzer, and then we'll take and create what we call a Celebrite report. And that Celebrite report is basically a standalone piece of software that puts all that data into something that you can categorize and search and let me look at these time frames, or let me search for these keywords in the extraction of the data we were able to pull.
Is it typical that you obtain these phones that you use this device on comes from some other detective that's involved in an investigation?
Yes, sir, generally.
Will that detective generally give you some guidance as to what they might want off of that phone if you can obtain it?
Sometimes, frankly, again, I don't want to go too deep in the weeds but Celebrite's able to parse about 400 out of 4 million applications. Now that was a couple of years old, those numbers. So I generally try to pull as much as I can, and then I allow the detective to take and based on the scope of their warrant or their waiver, they go through that data and find out what's pertinent to their case, since I don't know the case like they do.
Okay, so you're kind of leading into the next area that I wanted to go into. Once you put this stuff into a Celebrite report, as you described, put it onto a disk, does that then make it accessible to other detectives in the investigation to use for whatever investigative purpose they may or may not have?
Yes, sir. So once we've done that, we'll turn that over to whatever team is going to examine the device, and they'll go through and say, okay, we need to find all the messages that may contain the word John. So they'll go through and search for those things, or whatever might be the case in their actual investigation.
Would they do that separate from working hand in hand with you? They would do it on their own?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are there other people with the sheriff's office that have training in being able to use the Celebrite device to obtain data off of phones or other devices?
Well, through attrition, no, currently I'm the only digital forensics detective with those certifications, or at least with current certifications.
Okay. let's go back in time to January, February timeframe of 2020. Were you working at the sheriff's office back then?
Yes, sir.
Did you get involved in the investigation into the disappearance of Gannon Stauch?
Yes, sir.
What was your role in that investigation?
Again, basically what we just talked about. I was a digital forensics investigator dealing with DVR, computers, phones, etc.
Did you have an occasion to use Celebrite on 2 separate devices in that investigation?
Yes, sir.
When you get a device, like in this particular investigation that we're talking about, do you necessarily know who that particular device belongs to?
No.
So what information do you pay attention to make sure that the data that you extract from a device is assigned to that particular cell phone or whatever it might be?
Primarily, the first thing we do is try to keep things separated, but I generally try to look at like IMEIs, the identifying numbers in the phone. That's generally how I try to identify which phone goes with which extraction, things like that.
When you said that kind of quickly, the court reporter looked at you. Did you say IMEI?
Yes, ma'am. IMEI.
Okay.
Sorry.
So is that a unique identifier that's assigned to cell phones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's talk about, did you have a chance to look at a rose gold iPhone 8 in this case?
Yes, sir.
Or may I approach with People's Exhibit 222?
You may.
If you could just look over People's Exhibit 222, and when you're done looking it over, will you let me know?
I'm done.
Okay. Do you recognize People's Exhibit 222?
I do, sir.
What does it purport to be?
This is actually a Blu-ray disc containing a Celebrite of, I annotated it as Tisha's iPhone.
Okay. And when you do the Celebrite download, do you get the IMEI number? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to obtain phone number associated with a particular phone when you do this Celebrite?
Depends.
Okay.
At times we'll do an extraction with it just depends on the extraction.
Okay. Do you remember for this particular one, if you're able to get the phone number in the report for this particular iPhone?
I don't recall. I can look at my my report and see if that refreshes my memory.
Would that refresh your memory to look at your report?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, may he refresh his memory with his report?
You may go ahead.
Thank you.
Do you have it up there with you?
I have, yes, sir.
Okay.
And so that the record's clear, you're asking for the phone number that's identified with this Celebrite extraction, right?
That's right. Yep.
Excuse me just a second here while I pull out my Papa glasses. Yes, sir. I believe I have that here.
Okay. What was the number associated with that particular iPhone?
843-6557-460.
Okay. 843-655-7460. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. When you do an examination on a phone with this Celebrite process, do you examine the phone for any physical damage?
Yes, sir. Generally, I'll look at the phone and see if the screen is cracked. I'll try to annotate those things in the report.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, there's multiple purposes. One is that we want to make sure that the device functions, so we're able to actually manipulate it to do the download. The other thing is we also want to make sure that we're showing the state of the phone when we receive it, so that down the road we can show that the phone's still in that same condition, that we didn't damage the phone or something.
Okay. Did this particular phone have any physical damage or defects?
Do you mind if I look at my report?
Would that refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
May you refresh his memory with his report, Your Honor?
You may go ahead.
Thank you. I noted in the report that I observed no major defects on the device.
Okay. And then, Did you in fact perform a Celebrite extraction of that particular phone?
Yes, sir.
Is that extraction on People's Exhibit 222 that's in the envelope in front of you?
Yes, sir.
I move for admission of People's Exhibit 222.
Defense?
Subject to objection raised in the prior hearing.
All right, the objection's overruled. Exhibit
222.
2 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach with 224?
You may go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Swap you out.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Have you had a chance to look over People's Exhibit 224?
Yes, sir.
What does it purport to be?
This is again, a Blu-ray disc with a Celebrite of item number 671, which was an iPhone.
And when you examined this particular iPhone, did you have any contextual information about who this iPhone belonged to, where it came from, anything like that?
I don't recall. Actually, I may have heard that this was Tisha's other phone. I don't recall.
Okay. Was this by chance a phone that was seized in South Carolina from the defendant?
Yeah, that was my understanding, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, were you able to get the same kind of identifying information, IMEI, like you mentioned earlier, on this phone?
Yes, sir.
Do you know if you were able to get a phone number associated with this particular phone?
I believe we were, yes.
Okay. Do you remember off the top of your head what that phone number might have been?
I would have to refer to the report.
Would that refresh your memory if it's in there?
It would.
Okay. May he refresh his memory, Your Honor.
May go ahead.
Thank you.
Getting your glasses out again?
Yeah, either that or you'll have to hold it so I can see it further away like that. Sorry.
Your arms aren't quite long enough anymore?
No, sir, they've gotten shorter, I think. Let's see. Okay. The phone number associated with this phone is 843-798-1700-1700.
Okay. Did you do a physical examination of this phone as well to look for any damage or defects?
I believe so.
You believe so, or you did, or didn't?
Yeah, I did. That was a
Okay.
matter, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember what the results were, we'll say that. So,
Okay. Would it refresh your memory to look at your
would.
report? May he refresh his memory.
thank you, appreciate it. Actually, looks like I didn't actually note on this one that any damage, which would indicate to me there probably wasn't any damage, but I didn't actually specifically
Okay.
note in the report.
That's fine. Just so that we're very clear, though, did you say was or was not any damage?
I'm assuming there wasn't. I think I would have noted it if there was. However,
Okay.
I didn't specifically note it.
Okay. And then did you actually go ahead and perform the Celebrite extraction on that particular device as well?
Yes, sir.
Similar to the last device that we just talked about, did you place that on the disk, and that's what's in People's Exhibit 224?
Yes, sir.
All right, move for admission of People's 224.
Defense?
Same objection.
Overruled. Exhibit 224 will be admitted.
Okay. For these particular two devices, did you do anything beyond extracting and putting them on disk and admitting into evidence?
There were a team of us that that kind of looked through things. I don't recall that there was anything specifically that I did that somebody else didn't do as well that wouldn't have been annotated
Okay.
by them.
Okay.